There are some title-chasing wins that feel like a parade. You know the type, swagger, champagne football, the crowd singing before halftime, everyone smiling. And then there are the other kind, the awkward, ugly, nerve-shredding ones. The matches that feel less like a showcase and more like a street fight, where your goalkeeper gets clattered, the opposition cry conspiracy, and you're away and celebrates a VAR decision like it's a last-minute cup final winner. Arsenal's win at the London Stadium fell firmly into that second category. Not pretty, not relaxing, but massive, because a late Leandro Trossard winner yanked 3 points out of West Ham, and when the dust settled, Arsenal were left standing on the edge of something that's hovered over them for more than 2 decades. 22 years is a long time to carry a story. 22 years of false dawns, collapses, rebuilding projects, memes about trust in the process, and that familiar feeling that someone else always has a bigger budget, a deeper squad, and a simpler path. For a while, the league has looked like a closed club with Manchester City holding the keys. And yet, after this win, it's hard not to feel it. This is starting to look real, uncomfortably real. The funny part is Arsenal began like a team that wanted to make it comfortable. The tempo was sharp, the passing had purpose, and Trossard looked like a man determined to settle the whole thing himself. Early on, he came within inches twice in a matter of moments, clattering the woodwork when it felt easier to score than to miss. If you've watched enough title races, you'll know that feeling too, dominating a match, creating chances, and still sensing danger because you haven't put it away. Then came the moment that changed the mood entirely. Ben White went off injured, and Mikel Arteta made a switch that, for a while, seemed to hand West Ham momentum on a plate. Declan Rice was moved to right back. Why? That was the question in the stadium and at home. Rice, so commanding in midfield, suddenly looked like a player trying to do a complicated job with the wrong tools. Arsenal lost control. The midfield lost its shape. West Ham, who had been absorbing pressure, started to believe, and the match shifted from routine away win to something much darker, a survival test. Credit where it's due. Arteta saw it too and corrected it at halftime. Rice went back into midfield, where he does what he does best, winning duels, snapping into tackles, collecting second balls, and making life miserable for anyone trying to build momentum. But even with the shape restored, Arsenal still needed their goalkeeper. Again, there's been plenty of debate about David Raya this season, but whatever doubts people had earlier in campaign, nights like this underline why it's become so important. West Ham had chances that should have changed everything. Raya produced huge saves from Teddy Castellanos and Mateus Fernandes, and that Fernandes stop in particular had the feel of one of those moments you look back on in May and say, that was it. That's where it swung. 8 yards out. Almost a free hit, the kind of chance that usually ends up in the net before you've even finished groaning. Raya stayed big, held his ground, and kept Arsenal alive. And almost immediately after that, Arsenal struck. Trossard had spent most of the afternoon playing like he'd been personally insulted by football itself. Everything was inches. But he finally got his reward, and it came with a twist of fate too. His shot took a sharp deflection off Tomas Soucek, looped up, and dropped beyond the reach of the goalkeeper. It wasn't a pristine, top-corner masterpiece. It was chaos. It was relief. And it sent the away end into absolute bedlam. Of course, Arsenal never make it simple. They don't do calm endings. They don't do stress-free conclusions. And so, deep into stoppage time, the ball broke for Callum Wilson, and he bundled in what looked like a crushing equaliser. For a few seconds, it felt like the whole title race had tilted. The stadium erupted. Arsenal hearts sank. Somewhere, you could almost imagine rival fans reaching for their phones to fire off the inevitable jokes. Then came the delay. The long pause that turns your stomach. The VAR check. It dragged on, and the longer it took, the more you knew something was being scrutinized. West Ham had crowded Raya at a corner, and the review focused on what happened in the chaos around the goalkeeper. Eventually, the decision came through. No goal. A foul on Raya. Wilson's equaliser was wiped out. West Ham's reaction was pure fury, like they had just witnessed daylight robbery. Arsenal's reaction was the exact opposite. Relief so intense it looked like celebration. And that's the thing about VAR in moments like this. Was it soft? Maybe. Was Raya impeded? Probably. Would Arsenal supporters care even slightly given what's at stake? Not for a second. Because those are the kinds of margins that decide seasons. And Arsenal walked away with 3 points that felt heavier than most. So what does it all mean? It means Arsenal maintain a cushion at the top. It means they're still alive on multiple fronts, still carrying that sense of momentum and inevitability that champions tend to find at this stage. And it means, quietly, even the most scarred Arsenal fans are starting to let themselves think the thought they've avoided for years. Maybe this really is the year. For West Ham, the anger at the end might be understandable, but it won't change the bigger truth. They're in trouble, because the chances they did get weren't taken. Fernandes had a golden opportunity. Those are the moments that keep you up. West Ham showed fight and urgency, but the league doesn't hand out survival points for effort alone. If you don't score when the door is open, eventually it closes. And now, while North London starts to dream, West Ham look ahead at a brutal run-in with that uncomfortable feeling growing louder. The championship isn't a scare story anymore. It's a real possibility. But for Arsenal, this wasn't about aesthetics. It wasn't about patterns of play or pretty sequences or winning with style. This was about endurance, about holding your nerve when the stadium turns against you, about your goalkeeper standing tall when one chance could break you, about VAR, for once, being on your side at the exact moment your season could have slipped away. Not a classic, not a comfort, but the kind of win champions remember.